Good morning and welcome into the Farm2Table Show morning edition. Setbacks are part of the territory. They don't ask permission, and they rarely show up at a convenient time. It could be livestock loss in the middle of a cold snap, a garden that refuses to thrive, or burnout from juggling too many hats without enough hours in the day. And boy, can I relate to that. These moments often feel personal, like proof that something is wrong with you. But they aren't. They're proof that you're learning, that you're risking, that you're in it. And that matters because the difference between those who succeed in homesteading and those who burn out isn't skill or even resources. It's the ability to turn failure into fuel. Today's show is about setbacks, system breakdowns, and discouraging seasons, and how to transform those moments into your greatest teachers. Because failure isn't the end, it's a turning point. And that is why today's title is How Failure on the Homestead Becomes Your Greatest Teacher. So, here let's go. No one, and I mean no one, escapes the compost pile. And it's why setbacks are inevitable. Failure isn't a fluke in homesteading, it's almost a rite of passage. Every homesteader, no matter how experienced, has a trail of broken tools, bad batches, and misjudged seasons behind them. What you see today, flourishing gardens, well running operations, reliable systems, is built on a long history of things that just didn't go right. Homesteading is complex. It's part science, part sweat, and part surrender to nature's unpredictability. Weather changes, often here. Animals have unpredictably behaved in ways we can't explain. Equipment fails, and sometimes, despite best efforts, a season just doesn't produce. Still, people are often surprised when something falls apart. There's a subtle expectation that if you work hard enough, that if you plan thoroughly enough, or follow enough advice, everything will go just perfectly or smoothly. But here's the reality: failure can be foundational. Much like compost, which is made up of discarded scraps and decay, failure is the raw material for future fertility. It stinks at first, but over time it becomes the richest soil for growth. If you've never failed on the homestead, you've either just begun or you're just not taking any real risks. The path to wisdom is littered with missteps. Let's talk about some things, common failures and the lessons behind them. Call this burned, broken, and behind, but better for it. To move forward from failure, we must first understand the kinds of failure that are common and what they often teach. 1. Gardeners don't produce. One of the most common early frustrations is planting a garden that simply doesn't yield, and boy, do I know that one. It could be poor soil quality, improper sun exposure, planting the wrong varieties for the region, or timing errors with frost dates, or over and under watering in my case. This type of failure often teaches the importance of observation over action. A successful garden isn't just about effort, it's about timing, context, and learning from the land itself. Another one is inadequate fencing and infrastructure. And that's another thing. Livestock escaping enclosure or infrastructures failing under real world conditions. Goats slipping through wire, chickens lost to predators, or greenhouses collapsing under snow weight. These are all common. These failures reinforce the value of doing it right the first time. Cheap materials or quick fixes often cost more in the long run. A resilient homestead depends on resilient systems, strong fences, reliable water setups, and weather-aware designs. Now, another thing that we're guilty of, and I know I'm guilty of this a lot, is taking on too much and risking burning out. Self-reliant styles attract high-capacity people who often believe they should do everything themselves. The result? Physical exhaustion, emotional burnout, and oftentimes strained relationships. This kind of breakdown drives home a crucial lesson that margin is essential. Homesteading isn't about doing more, it's about doing what matters. Learning to say no or not yet, well, that's a form of wisdom, not weakness. Now, 4, homestead businesses that lose money. Trying to turn passion into profit through eggs, produce, soap, or livestock often leads to the realization that farming economics doesn't always follow passion. Pricing mistakes, poor market fit, or lack of business planning lead to many early ventures into red ink. The lesson here is that self reliance doesn't mean business ignorance. A good product still needs good marketing, good math, and a clear plan. Profit margins must be real, not just hopeful. So, now that we've talked about some of that, let's get into the mindset of a resilient homesteader. Reframing failure. One failure happens, and it will. The most important move is how you interpret it. Success in this lifestyle isn't perfection, it's perseverance. The ones who build a thriving homestead are not those who avoid mistakes, but those who recover from them. So let's redefine what winning looks like. In modern culture, success is often defined by appearance, flawless outcomes, curated results, filtered posts. Yeah, the old fake book there. Instagram, Snapchat, Pinterest. But on the homestead, success is defined by staying in the process. It's trying again after the storm. It's fixing what broke. It's making the hard choice to learn instead of quit. And let's have honest conversations and make that normal. There's power in saying that didn't work. Sharing what failed opens the door for growth, not just for yourself, but for others walking the same path. Many of the best community discussions can come from mutual troubleshooting, not from boasting victories. Transparency builds resilience because it proves you're not alone. Now, this other part here I'd never thought of, but till we got into this post mortem journaling. One practical tool that can be used by seasoned homesteaders is post mortem journaling. After a season ends or something goes wrong, they sit down to ask, what didn't work? Why didn't it work? What adjustments could be made? And what would I do differently next time? This builds a library of wisdom unique to your property, your climate, and your capacity. It turns experience into knowledge, and knowledge becomes confidence. So that's an important thing. Keeping a journal, keeping track of what's happened. Now, let's talk about from setback to setup, turning the lessons into better systems. Failure becomes valuable when it leads to action. If a project didn't go well, it's an invitation to build smarter. For garden failures, use this winter to rethink layout, maybe update soil, learn about crop rotation and succession planning. Small tweaks like adding shade cloth or adjusting water frequency can make a world of difference. For infrastructure issues, well, double down on quality. Upgrade fencing materials, reinforce high wear points, and study animal behavior more deeply. Your animals, that is. Systems that work are systems that anticipate real world stress, weather, animals, and time. Now, for burnout, create new boundaries around your work. Institute off days. Just had one yesterday. It was kind of nice. Share the load with family or neighbors. Delegate when possible. You are not a machine, and sustainability applies to your health as much as your harvest. For business flops, well, evaluate your pricing model, marketing approach, and seasonal workload. Maybe your product is great, but your market isn't ready. Or maybe the timing or packaging needs a shift. Use failure to refine, not to retreat. So, in closing, let's talk about harvest from the hard seasons. The most fruitful homesteads are not the ones with the fewest mistakes, but with the ones with the most lessons learned. Every failed season, every broken tool, every burnout week can produce fruit if composted into growth. Setbacks don't mean you're not cut out for this. Quite the contrary. They mean you are real because they mean you are because real homesteaders, they learn from the land and from loss, adjust instead of abandon, fail forward or fail upward, as we like to say. And perhaps most importantly, they share their failures so others can learn without repeating them. If you're in a tough season, take heart. You're not behind. You're not disqualified. You're just in the part of the story where the roots go deep, quietly, invisibly, so something stronger can grow later. This week, do one thing. Reflect on a recent failure. Don't bury it. Break it down. What happened? What did it teach you? And what will you change? And then share it. Share it with someone in your life, online, or just even in a journal. But let your setback serve someone else. That's how we build not just stronger farms, but stronger communities. Well, good morning to my tablers. Good morning to all of the folks here, and welcome into the Farm to Table Show on its first Saturday edition. I'm going to bring my co-host, Bro Keith, into the mix. Morning, bro.
Good morning.
How
Glad
are
to
you today?
see you.
Hey,
I'm doing good now. A little bit earlier, I couldn't say that much, but right now let's just say I'm here and feeling much better.
well,
You
good to
know
hear.
that not to get off topic too much, but that little get together we had the other night. Well, when I left there, I apparently ate something I shouldn't have. But anyway, so I am in full recovery now. Thank goodness.
All right.
Yeah, roll call, y'all.
It's time for some roll call up in here. We're gonna get this going. Of course, Scotty, good to see you, buddy, in here, turning the lights on early. I'll skip your attempts at getting uh, the thing right, but here we go. We'll do it when we'll throw in the peace. Therefore, do not let your good be slandered, for the kingdom of God is not eating or drinking, but righteousness and joy and peace in the Holy Spirit. Romans
Amen.
14:16 through 17. Very good. Appreciate you opening us with the word this morning, Scotty. Yeah, in fact, he did. Yeah, righteousness, peace, and joy. Yeah, we got it. There we go. Third time's a charm. Good morning, Robbie. Good to see you in with us this morning, buddy. Let's see. Don't have a Monday on a Saturday. Right, no kidding. Let's see. Went out and fed everybody early. Appreciate that, Robbie. Good morning, Terry. Good to see you in with us. And let's see. Robbie says actually feels nice outside. It's still about 74, but the humidity just didn't just wrap around me. Well, it'll come later. I agree. That's what Terry said later.
Right.
He's, uh, anyway, she'll be back. Yeah, there we go. I need to do some weeding, so she'll be nice and hot. Yeah, I'm going to be strapping onto a mower myself here in a little bit. Good morning, Rebecca. Touch by Yarn. Good to see you this morning. Let's see where we at. Joy Bartlett. Good to see you in with us. Glad to have you hanging out. And good morning, Saturday morning, Ryan. Yes, there we go. Let's see where we at. Morning, everybody saying good morning to each other. Then ain't that the truth? I will cause compost stinks. There we go. Uh, better be willing to stink for a while before it gets useful. I like that, bro. That was good. Uh, let's see. Want to get some of those compost bins I've seen. They let you spin in the buckets. Um, yeah, I had a conversation with our sister who's in visiting yesterday, and as she is entering retirement, semi-retirement, she was talking about beginning to garden and trying to, start some herbs, and she's kind of heading down that road of starting to want to garden some stuff and grow some things. And we got to talking about composting, and she said she's kind of leaning towards the roller bin where you just roll it instead of having it out there, and so yeah. So I was pleased to hear that she's thinking about heading down that road, in which they cook a lot. So
Mhm.
that's good for her. Let's see who we got here. Rebecca, good morning. Working on a blanket for a friend and just listening. Well, good deal. Uh, that's another lucky friend. Good morning, Petra Beer. Good to see you in. In order to succeed, you must fail first. That's right. But you have to learn failure from failure, continue to fail. So that's right. Uh, and if I can learn from your failure, which I think is why it's important to share our failures. Terry said that, yeah, and that Terry, oh, you read the script. I liked what you said there. Um, anyway, the answers were on the top of the desk when I walked by. I mean, yeah, I like,
It's like the dog ate my homework.
yeah, right. Uh, After action report, yes, that in the military, that is what that's called. Let's see, Terry uses cheese. Good morning, Kane Riggs. Glad to see you in, brother. And glad to be able to have you with us. We have to fail forward. That's it. I like that.
Yeah.
Uh, Good morning there, Dina Dyer. Good morning. Good to see you in. And anyway, It only took a few times to get the spelling right, but anyway. Yeah. Let's see. I can't spell any day. Yeah. Let's see. Opposition brings opportunity. I like that, Kane. I like that. That's good stuff. But all right. Let's see. Yeah. Steel sharpens steel. Iron sharpens iron. All that. Yeah. Uh, and it's like working in recovery is like being a homesteader. It's hard work. Yes, indeed. Yes, indeed. Good morning, Ed Kirkpatrick. Back on the road back to Georgia, huh? All right. Well, travel safe, my friend. He was. I know he had said he was coming up to Oklahoma this last week. So, yeah. Hopefully he'll be moving at some point in time. He'll be moving. Good morning, Doug and Donna Duncan. Glad to have you in. Checking in and saying hello to all hand paint. There we go. Good morning, guys. Look at the size of this blanket. It's almost the size of the top of my full size bed from right to left. Good, nice, good blanket. Let's see. All right, so we're all caught up on the roll call. Everybody's in this morning. Well, good morning, good morning. Well, bro, I guess we can get back into this and kind of talk about the subject a little bit, and kind of get some of your thoughts on it as you were, you know, as we were going through, and kind of what you thought, about it. But
Well, I said to Terry over in chat about he must have read the script because, whenever I looked and whenever I listened and whenever I looked at the script and everything, that's the one thing that I thought about is that sharing is so fundamental. Sharing your failures with other people because not only do you learn from sharing those mistakes, but they learn when you share mistakes. And oh, by the way, it also means, hey, everybody's human. We all put our pants on the same way. And it's not magic. There's no magic formula here. It's about life and it's about experience. Through experience, we learn. And so, I really appreciated that. But whenever I was also reading through it a little bit earlier, I was thinking, this applies to just about everything in life.
right,
And um, I'm sitting here thinking about, the things that we're doing with Farm to Table Show and the most recent changes that we've made,
right.
and, you're dealt with a set of circumstances and you just have to roll with it the best way you know how.
Oh yeah, certainly. And I mean it's and when I was in the Marine Corps, you heard it. It was adapt and overcome.
Right.
I mean, when you fancy way of saying figure it out. But just don't. And for me, which one of the big things in there was just don't quit. And
Right.
I know it applies in a lot of things in life, but I know it especially when I was in the military, and you're
Mhm.
going through schools and you're going through training and stuff, right? And a lot of those trainings were specialized and they were hard, and they were hard on purpose. And what was really hard usually was the entry. It was the beginning, that first opening, because they wanted to weed out the quitters. Honestly, it's what it was. They just wanted to
Yeah.
weed out their quitters. And so, I had people that were, friends at the time that were Navy SEALs and stuff. And, you talk to them about going through their training and everything. And that was their thing. They said, man, just don't quit. Just don't quit. It's hard, but just that opening phase, just don't quit. That was the whole deal. And so, yeah, sounds like homesteading for sure. Yes, Terry, very much. And good morning, Code Man. Good to see you in. I was hanging out with you last night, but we was having our family 4th of July gathering. So, but
Yeah.
anyway, and by the way, I hope
So,
everybody still has all 10 fingers and toes, body
right.
parts. Uh, and yes, Terry, that's right. Train hard, so when hard comes naturally, uh, you're ready for you're ready for this, and it's not always as bad. Yeah, and that's the thing. I had a couple of trainings. I always felt like, man, I felt like they made it hard just to make it hard. Yeah, uh,
Hmm.
honestly, they made it hard just to make it hard. But but
Well, what we're talking about is that, at the point that you have a failure, you
right,
know, everybody has emotions that are wrapped around that. You
Oh, certainly.
know, have you ever felt like quitting and had to reason with yourself not to?
Every day when I go to my job.
I mean, is that a failure?
No.
But getting back in the saddle. But and I'm just being honest with you. There are times I'm like, I look at things and I say, you know, is this or is that worth the struggle? That I
Right.
have to go through to make it happen. And I have to look at my commitment to any one thing.
Oh yeah.
So, like one of the things that when I was flying, um, I loved flying, but there was a lot that went into that. I mean, there was a lot of inconvenience. You have no idea what time you're going to get to your room or get to go home when you go out on a trip. Everything happens, weather happens, mechanicals, other issues happen. And so there's a level of struggle with it. Um, but that was all worth it. But I did meet one thing that made it no longer worth it for me, and that's when I could no longer get to work in a timely manner because the flights going into Dallas was terrible. So I did make that decision that I'm going to walk away from this and go do something else. So, but on the other hand, um, there are so many times that I wanted to walk away from real estate because there's headaches in it, right? So it's the same thing in homesteading, right? Though,
It's
um, but the good news is that before you pull the trigger, you tell yourself, go to sleep on the decision, wake
right.
up tomorrow, rethink it, and most of the time, well, every time that until now, I have continued on because I said, wait a minute, this is all worth it. I'm having a string of emotions right now because of a failure,
Right.
um, and um, I had to reach down and just pull it out, and continue on.
Well, that's reaching inside sometimes on an intestinal fortitude and the maturity and wisdom to not react in a moment. And I know, when it comes to uh, growing and crops or growing gardens or working with with those things. I mean, the best laid plans of mice and men, you might say. But I mean, it's,
Right.
you put this together and, planning. And yeah, when you go out there and that plant doesn't produce it or it dies or, it's producing, but it's not producing correct. I mean, just all the little aggravations. Yeah. You just want to just go out there with the tractor and just drive over it, at the moment,
Or
but you
you have
can't.
a, but you have a goat that skips over a fence and you don't
Takes
know
care
what
of it.
happened, right?
Yeah. Right. Or a
But
goat goes missing, a MIA
yeah,
goat.
right.
And when we were talking a little bit about this at when we were wrapping up on Thursday with the morning edition, and kind of got into some of this conversation on the panel, um, that and Robbie, I believe, was said that when it comes to livestock, make them happier on the inside of the fence, so they won't worry about the outside of the fence. Because and I've heard this from goat people, and I've heard this from cattle people. There's no fence you can build that they can't find a way out of if they want to. And
Mhm.
if you have one opening and they find it, rest assured they probably have another one somewhere else. They're just not using it right now. you
Mhm.
know,
Mhm.
so it's a constant. But I think there's a lot to what Robbie said with making them happy on the inside of the fence. So again, it's adapting your systems to what
Mhm.
works. We've joked, and I know Terry's talked about it a little bit some, the amount of rain we've had this year over here. And the people who
Mhm.
use water catchment are in abundance right now, maybe overflowing, you know.
Yeah,
Uh, but,
I'm
we
beginning to believe in weather control.
maybe just could be a little bit out there. Cloud seeding is real. I don't know.
Yeah, whatever.
I
But
like this, Scotty. I'm gonna pull that. Being a safety specialist, you learn to adapt to any situation. Um, and that is really what it is. I mean, it's not always knowing the answer. It's just seeing what happens when that unexpected happens. And which I always said, if it's if you prepare for the unexpected, is it actually unexpected? But I don't know. But I like that. Yeah, Terry said, but gardens are drowning. And I know, you know, there you go. Like I said, so grateful for my mother teaching me a lesson and not quitting. All right,
Yeah,
and I
that's
think
awesome.
that's something we have to work so hard about is not quitting. And oftentimes when we're, that was always the thing. Like even in sports, when I was playing sports, Dad wouldn't let me quit mid-season. Mid-semester, Mom and Dad wouldn't let me quit. I had to finish out that commitment to that team. Now, if I didn't want to play again, or if I wanted to walk away from it, then okay. But I had to finish that commitment to that time. Yeah, and I like that, Robbie. Anything worth having will require work. Sometimes a lot of work. Is it worth it? If so, don't quit. That's it.
And that's what I was saying a little bit earlier is I had to back off sometimes and not let my emotions make
Right.
decisions for me. I had to back away from it and then say, is it worth it? And of course the answer is always, yeah, it's worth it. And so you get back on the horse and you ride, right? And
Yeah.
I wanted to bring something yeah,
Yeah.
I'm sorry, you was bringing up the same thing. Pray for
No. Oh,
Texas. Oh, okay. Yeah, pray for Texas. And for those of
buddy.
you who may not know what he's talking about, they had floods in Texas and there were missing girls from a camp. And I believe that that's probably what Scotty's talking
It
about.
is. Yeah. They've got a
Yeah,
lot of flooding going on down there, and
yeah,
in some of the areas. But yeah, it's um, those things, they carry over into life. And, sports and everything is fun and it's a game, can get serious, can get heavy, but at the same time, you learn a lot of life lessons there. And it's like not quitting when it gets hard, or not quitting when you fail, or not quitting when things don't go your way, or all of that, So, I mean, it is, super important. I don't know if Kane is still in with us, our friend Kane on Facebook. I don't know if he's still in, but, he's recently shared some pictures of their garden over there at the recovery ranch, you
hmm
know, and it don't look like a typical pretty garden right now, and it is because of the rain. But yet they've replanted and keeping it
right.
going, and
hmm
it will yield a harvest. Just may not be what it looked like when we thought it was going to go that way. But so there's something there to that, and those men are, and women are getting to learn the value of planting and working in the soil, and we'll get the reward, the harvest at the end of it. So
Yeah, I just wanted to highlight this one from
yeah,
Terry, not quitting, and that in everything, work, sports, homesteading, and this is the reason I chose this one, marriages and everything,
yeah,
marriages.
yeah.
We all know that, things that's worth having is hard work, you
Oh
know,
yeah,
and, uh, and not quitting is a test of your resolve in everything, including marriages. And so, and then Terry said, yep, grew up the same requirements. And we told our kids the same thing. Right.
yeah.
Yeah.
Don't quit midway. But
Yeah.
anyway, so that's
So,
that's the nutshell of it. I mean, it is basically it's a realistic expectation. I think that's a lot of the problems in a lot of things, be it homesteading or life, is people go into things with expectations and maybe sometimes unrealistic
right.
expectations. Thanks to the
Mhm.
Hallmark Channel and Disney and things like that, people go in with some unrealistic expectations in life, and when reality hits, when Prince Charming snores, or
Right.
you know,
Yeah. I just love that Hallmark channel.
yeah,
Just love it. I mean, it was worth a lot. I mean, their
uh,
listenership was mostly women, I think, if I remember correctly,
yeah, I would
or
expect.
watchership. And yeah, highly valuable stuff. Great stuff for our society. Anyway, I
And
digress.
right, well, I'm just saying is so is it's unrealistic expectations that people place upon each other, you know,
Yeah.
and and unrealistic expectations we place on ourselves is
Amen.
often its own set of problems, because we go in with this idea in our mind, and when it doesn't meet that idea, we're disappointed. And so then you have to be able to pull back and uh, you have to be able to pull back and appreciate the good, find that good in it and appreciate that and learn to realize that's where contentment's at. It's not in our expectations, but in the harvest. And before we get too far, I want to pull up Greg and Donna's,
Yeah,
uh, not been a good garden year for us, but God has provided anyway. Recently canned 92 quarts of potatoes and put up 5 bushels of corn. Awesome
awesome.
stuff right there.
Yeah,
Uh,
yeah,
but
and then here with Scotty, life is
getting all
full of trials and tribulations. What's that?
getting all philosophical on us.
Yeah, I'm getting philosophical. It's okay. Life is
Yeah.
full of trials and tribulations. Remember, you shall overcome all, and everything will turn out the way they are to be. Yeah, yeah, that's right. That's generally what I find.
Uh, Greg said we didn't say we grew at all. Anyway, and then Robbie chimes in. Let's see here. Quitting is usually the easy way out. Sometimes it may be necessary. Most of the time, you'll be happier and better off if you keep going. And that's
Yeah.
Cody said the Hallmark's the best during Christmas. Yeah.
No coding. No, just no.
Check,
Okay.
check your man card.
Yeah,
And
check your man card at the door. That's all I'm saying.
but no, it's you know, uh, sometimes, I mean, even like with the show, we're becoming an untenable situation with all that's coming forward and where things were at right at the present moment. So it was like, okay, well, we got to make a change. So we just regrouped how we're doing this, as opposed to just pulling the plug and quitting. And I know over the last 3.5 years, Keith and I have had many of those discussions,
Oh yeah.
you know, and about what do we do? Do we keep pushing forward? Do we keep going? You know, and or do we figure out a way, or do we hang it up? And at what point is that? So and I always say we have an annual review at the end of every year. We pull back and look at where we're at, look at what's going on, and say, okay, what's next? What do we do? And I think it's that everybody needs to do that at the end of gardening season, as we were talking about that, after action review, post mortem, whatever, looking back and saying, okay, what's next and what do we do, and is this continue to be the journey? So, but before we go any further along, I'm going to get I'm going to go ahead and post this link, maybe if I can get my tabber over there. Let's see. Okay, Terry, if you would go ahead and click on that. We've invited Terry with T&T Homesteading to join us this morning, and I didn't get it sent to him directly, and so I put it up here. So I remember one thing, family: tablers don't quit.
That's it.
Uh, that's it.
Hashtag
Hashtag
tablers don't quit.
don't quit. That's it.
Yeah.
So there, I think it's Terry. Yeah, Terry's joining us in here. So, all right. Welcome in, Terry. Glad to have you with us this morning, bud. If he can,
See if we can get
hear.
his audio rolling here.
There we go.
There we go. Sorry, I had sound from both going on. I was trying to mute the other one, and I was having difficulties.
I'm rotating us around, trying to get it. There
Trying
we
to
go.
get us. There we go. So
How y'all doing?
Doing good. How about how doing? It's Saturday morning. I'm in here in my shorts and t-shirt. Yeah, pretty good.
Yeah.
yeah. So Terry, was watching one of your videos earlier. Those boots you're wearing, are they snake boots, or
those-
are they? Like
Those were just
mud
my muck boots.
Oh, your muck
They're
boots.
just-
Okay.
Yeah, they weren't specifically snake boots. They were just muck boots.
Yeah, I went out and bought some, and I hadn't even been able to use them yet. Some not muck boots. I haven't been able to use my snake boots yet.
Right.
And I even got my wife a pair, and they're just sitting in the closet gathering dust.
Hey, Chris, surviving in Alabama. What's up, buddy?
What's up, Chris? Good to see
Been
you,
a long
man.
time. Got a chance to see you and talk with you. Hope all
Yeah.
is well with you, man. But
Yeah.
if y'all,
Yeah,
if y'all want an
I've never
check
messed
him
with
out.
snake boots. One of the things I learned in Boy Scouts is if you just sort of stomp as you're walking, and when you're with Boy Scouts, there's always lots of noise. They'll tend to usually scatter. So
Right.
Yeah, that's true. It's just one of those, if you're going to be in a high weed situation and you happen to step down on them, that would be my
Right.
biggest fear. If I've got enough
Yeah.
distance and can see them just a little bit early, I'm not freaked out about it.
Right.
Yeah.
We of course I'll get a little backstory without going too far. Keith and Melly was talking about having the snake boots. We were visiting with a fella, had met a fella, and we're working with him on a possible project, and it involved about 400 acres, I think. 200, 400, large, huge acreage in southeast Oklahoma that was up in the mountain, the Sandboys Mountains, and Snake Central. And he wore snake boots all the time, every day, going out there. And it's like, if the man who owns the property is wearing them, you might want to consider. Yeah.
Actually, he wore snake boots to go to a restaurant. Everywhere he went, it was snake boots. Yeah.
I think that's may have been the only boots he had. I don't know in hindsight,
Yeah.
but anyway, but it was just that. So they got him so we could go out on, and tour the property and all that. And yeah, I like that there, Chris. Sitting on a dock fishing, listening to y'all. That's a good Saturday morning right there. That's
Right. And with that, I'll tell Robbie, man, that's what you need to do. You need to take us out there while you're fishing with you. I don't know.
get us
You got a
get us
boat or
get us
a
some
dock to
footage out
fish on.
there.
Yeah.
Yeah, show us while you're out there. Show the water. Yeah,
Right.
Like Keith was-
Earlier, bro, we were talking about sharing your failures and successes. And that's one of the things that I've enjoyed about the Farm to Table Show group, the tablers, is we get to share those things. And I can't tell you how invaluable that becomes as a tool within itself, is to be able to meet up with a group of great people in social media to talk about those things, because it holds me accountable. And I'm sure that it helps other people to, to deal with some of those struggles. And I think, I love it when people talk about what they just processed, something that they just did, because, it's just that constant reminder that things are going on and people are succeeding, in the face of especially all the rain this year.
Right. Oh yeah. And and I know, and I would even say, I know we give Terry a hard time about the chainsaw and everything, but but yet at the same time, that's part of it. Is those things happen, and injuries or crop failures or fences or storms, and trees down, and I mean, power outages if you're on the grid, and the battery failed in the solar system, whatever, the controller didn't work right, or the well pump has a problem, or I mean, it's just life. And I don't care where you're at. And I've got an electrical circuit in my rent house that right now, that one set of things is going on there, and I'm trying the process of trying to figure out what happened. It's life. You got you pull up and you figure it out. And sometimes you got to call in an expert. Sometimes you can figure it on your own. But
well, and that's one of the things I like about so many of the homesteading videos. At least the ones I consider sort of better, is they show their mistakes.
Right.
When you're showing, hey, this is what I'm doing, and then a couple weeks later you get a video, okay, that was a really bad idea, here's all my problems that I just had. So some people never have problems, and you're like,
no, I don't think so, Terry.
That's the polished Pinterest version of
Yeah, that's the Pinterest version.
Yeah. Greg Duncan asked if you're fishing the Illinois River.
Yeah, I saw that. I usually walk down if I'm just going to fish it. I usually take the kayaks over to 10 Killer, though. Or, go up to some of the creeks off of the Arkansas, Spaniard Creek, and stuff like that, or different stuff. But a lot of times we'll just go over to 10 Killer. I like taking the kayaks out there because I can put in and take out easier. Paddling upstream is just exhausting.
Yeah,
tell you what it is. Absolutely. Yeah, and I like this, and this goes right in with what we're talking about. We're sharing failures. We're not just feel good all the time channel. We're a real life channel, and I think the ones who have the better success long term, and even some of our bigger channels, you know, you'll see the fire that got out of control, or the fence that the flood or the animals tore down, or you'll see that stuff because you know I read, I get little Google alert things I have said, and I see stories in there connected to homesteading. Sometimes they're worth sharing, and sometimes they're in a garbage can, uh, but it's like, but you'll see these stories where these people talk about, the homesteading thing is a lie, and they go in there and they start talking, and you read the headline, and it's like, what? And you go in there, and then what you realize is, no, they had the same success everybody else did. It just wasn't what they thought it was going to be versus what it is. And it was from watching those kind of videos and reading those kind of things where it was, looked great and they're making money and I'm doing all this stuff, and, not the truth, if you will, about, you know, sometimes, yeah, you might, yeah, I'm not saying you're not going to happen that way, but you're going to go through a lot of bumps and bruises, and you're going to work twice as many hours as you would if you just went to the grocery store. I mean, it's hard work and it's time consuming, and, you're not just, setting up with your feet,
And that's what I've told some people is, you can go to the grocery store and get stuff, but what you're going to grow in your own garden is so much better.
Oh yeah.
Thursday, I picked up my first Cherokee purple tomato of the season. It's beautiful.
Nice.
And well, Cherokee purples aren't always pretty, but you know what I'm saying. I'm so excited about this. I got 2 more ready to pick, I think. So some
Right.
BLT sandwiches, I think, this weekend. But
There you go.
those tomatoes are so much better than what you're getting at the grocery store. I just picked it when it's ready to eat. I don't have to pick it, several weeks before it's really ready, and then it gets to you. And it's a lot like that with a lot of stuff, It's just you get so much better from your own garden or from farmers markets or CSAs or whatever it is.
Right. Well, we've used this statement. I've heard it. I've said it myself. Man, it just tastes better when when it's yours. And I think there's twofold to that. I think one, it does actually taste better, because it is fresh and it is right there. But then there's that mental side of the fact that you grew, that you were a part of this process, and that's the reward of that. And so, um, and but. Let's see. I'm gonna get a couple of comments right quick. Let's see. Chris said, "Sir, made a fish trap video, put it out, didn't work quite as well as planned. Had to adjust and fix it. Now have to do an update video." Uh, yeah, And Robbie come back. Let's see. Well, some things seem like a great idea. You're just sure they would work so well, and you implement it, and either not so great or not any good at all, and it's called life.
Yeah.
That's it. Keith and I, we're all the time. It's like, we're doing something. It's like, well, this is either a really great idea and we're ahead of our time, or this was just a bad idea.
Just a really bad idea. Right.
uh,
Yeah. And generally it's the latter, I'm just saying. But,
most of the time it's like, well, just. Yeah.
So, bro, I want to kind of turn this in a little bit different direction and put the spotlight on Terry for just a minute.
Absolutely.
And, for those of you who don't know Terry, this is Terry Gerard with TNT Homestead. And Terry, I just, he's got a channel. I think I know you're on YouTube. Are you on Facebook also? I think so.
We do have a Facebook and Instagram. Those don't get used as much. Usually I share what's on Facebook, but occasionally you'll get pictures and stuff like that. My wife likes to post, especially tag Facebook and stuff like that as stuff we're doing.
Right.
But
would you call YouTube or Facebook your primary? Which one do you do?
YouTube's probably primary. YouTube's primary. But I mean, okay. Facebook, you'll YouTube, we do a lot of shorts. I try to do a daily short, or at least every other day I have a short out at least, and then weekly videos. But I don't share my shorts on the Facebook. I just if you subscribe, you can see them. If you don't, well, you don't. But
right. So what's the kind of the goal with your channel? What you just want to? I'm not going to put words in your mouth. I'm just going to leave it there and let you tell me.
Oh no! It basically, I just started sharing it when we bought this place in 2020. it was just sharing what we're doing, taking this pretty much this 10 acres in the woods that had a little bitty cabin on it, a couple of old outhouses and a couple of old rundown chicken coops. And it took us a while to even figure out that's what they were, and just start turning it into, something nice. And then it evolved into throwing in the solar panels, because, solar energy, because we're far enough away from the road. We could do solar cheaper than get electric brought out here to the property. Right. And then as we moved here, it's just a complete off-grid life, water catchment, solar panels. Eventually we'll start drinking our water that we started catching this year, but right now it's shower water and garden water and animal water and all that kind of stuff. And it's just to share what's possible, I guess, is probably the best way. Daniel Arm's family, he was the one that's just he was talking about it one time when I used to watch videos a lot. He was just like, just start and just share. And that's what I started doing. And people find it interesting, and then they want to learn and they want to know more. And, if I can teach someone something, either what to do or what not to do, well, then someone's learned from one of my mistakes or one of my successes.
Right. So where did you come from? So in 2020, you guys moved out to the 10 acres and eventually became completely off grid. Where did you move from and to, and what was life like before that?
Well, I grew up in the Tulsa area. As a kid, I grew up in Tulsa. Then we moved north to a little town called Collinsville, and, just lived there, went to college, Oklahoma State, go Pokes. And then back to Collinsville, where I met my wife, and we got married, and we lived in town. And then we moved out of town. I mean, it's just a small city lot where you could literally spit on the house next door. They built it so close. Yeah. And it was just too much. And we moved out to the country, and it was wonderful. It had 1 acre lots. But then you realized after being there a while, it was crazy. People are still too close. They're bringing in more and more. I mean, we'd lose water for at least a week every year. We wouldn't have water. And basically, it's just they're building more. They're putting more in. They're not putting infrastructure. They were looking at building a shopping center that was just going to cause more congestion. We wanted to get away from all the people, not necessarily people in general, but the crowds, the hustle and bustle. And, even that was the long-term goal. And then we were looking for 5 to 10 acres was sort of what we were hoping for, and found this down here by 10 Killer Lake. And, was right down the road from where my grandparents used to live. I mean, I walked down this same road to the river as a kid, and that was really awesome. And we just wanted to get away from all the crowds, because as you looked at the world around you, it's just like there were days that it just seemed so well, if it ever went Walking Dead type of thing, it's just too much people, too much around you, too much, I guess is really it. As always, you had the 1,600 square foot house with a small little pool and a chicken coop and a little garden, which was nice, but you just lived the normal life. And then we started looking at what's in our food, and so many health issues are probably food related. At least my wife and I believe that. And so we wanted to, okay, what's in our food? Okay, let's start making our own bread. Okay, let's start raising our own food, and let's start raising our own chickens, and get our fresh eggs. And, it's a little step at a time. My wife loves to tell me, Tracy loves to tell me, it doesn't all have to happen right now. You can take it steps at a time.
Yeah. Yeah, that's right. And so now, how well have you adjusted? Is it what you thought it would be or hoped it would be when you moved to your 10 acre plot?
It's even better than we thought it would be. One of the things my wife and I love to say is we absolutely love it, but it's not for everyone. Right. I do have to sort of keep an eye out on the electric, especially in summertime when we're running an air conditioner in both buildings. They're little mini splits. They do great on electricity, but there's only so much electricity to go around. And when you've got 3, 4, 5 days of clouds, you're still making electricity, but not as much. So
do you use any kind of, you were talking about the AC being mini splits. Are you using them in certain zones? And have you like heavily insulated the zone that you're in there so it lowers the need? How did you handle that?
when we brought in this building that we're currently in, that I'm sitting in, my wife's in the bedroom building, and I insulated it. I really considered spray foam, but I didn't go that route. But I tried to put in good insulation everywhere, in the ceiling and the walls. But we also put in lots of windows, which sort of isn't the best, but we like a lot of the light and all that kind of stuff, because the other cabin has just been so dark. We've had houses that's been so dark. But the mini splits do a great job. And it's the one in the other bedroom, it's connected to the Wi-Fi. So when we're driving, especially in the wintertime, we can turn on the heater in the other bedroom.
Right.
Before we get here, because there's been times we'd come in and then go to light the stoves, but it may be 40 degrees in the bedroom, and you got to let it warm up before you can even get in bed because it's so cold.
Right.
So being able to, we're off grid, but every one of you is on the internet. You know what being on the internet's like? You can't be off grid and be on the internet. And you're like, well, you can.
Well, you can.
You can do both.
Yeah.
Right.
So
we're just not we're not plugged into water. We're not plugged into electric. We're not plugged into gas.
Well, so see, I think the definition of off grid is such a wide expectation. People, like you said, you say off grid, you think, man, you're living like it's 1800s, and there's no modern anything on the property. And when in reality, for most, off grid just means you're not connected into public utilities like water and electric and those type of things. And
I think that's what most people consider.
so it's not just another clever name. It's actually just off grid.
Yeah,
Okay.
it's not disappearing into society with no possible trace of finding you, and not becoming non-existent. It's
Right.
you're just disconnected from that, and that's what.
Yeah, I like to say we don't live like Ma and Pa Ingalls. It's not like that.
So you mentioned the internet. So how do you do your internet there? What service are you using there?
I've tried 3. I'm currently on AT&T's just wireless hotspot little box, and I was having a trouble with that. I mean, well, Thursday I had problems, and I ended up tethering to the phone. Yesterday I was having problems last night, and it continued on to this morning, but it finally got situated.
Right.
I used Starlink for a while, but I still have too many trees for Starlink to work really well, or I need to get a tower. And then I started having dropped packets, and I just couldn't get a connection. I couldn't get good support, and that's when I went to AT&T. I am ready to go back to Starlink, but I still got to take care of the trees.
Well,
so
I think we might have had this conversation before, but check that up, the Mbps up on Starlink, because most people prioritize down, and at least some of the packages that I've looked at through Starlink was somewhere around 5 Mbps up. And if you're having to upload videos, how does that work for you? Did you try uploading videos through Starlink before, or?
Oh yeah, and I had no real problems uploading videos with Starlink. It was pretty quick. AT&T, I just did a speed test this morning. I'm trying to find it real quick on my phone. But there it was. I don't want to test it now. I'm on the phone. Anyway, it was like 30 down and 5 up. And it takes forever to even upload a small 5-minute video, 6-minute video. It might take me several hours to a good part of the night.
Wow.
I've been there, done that. I've been there, done that, Terry, and man, I'm so glad I'm no longer doing that. As a matter of fact, it got
this
so bad that I would put our file on SneakerNet, and I would go to the library that had 90, right? And so that would allow me to get the work done much faster, and not having to wait and struggle through it and then having to start over again and all of that mess. But so anyway, you are right now on AT&T, and your stream quality seems to be pretty good at the moment. So, I mean, at least you got that. Yeah.
Yeah, it's not horrible. They got, believe it or not, where we're at, we currently have 5G where we sit here, which, you know, some people don't like that, but we're at 5G. I guess it's
Okay.
where we're at with the lake and the towns. We're just close enough to get it, but
Right. But anyway, well, I'm going to go ahead and say good morning to Rainy Ridge. They jumped in here. It's Tina that's on with us. Eric is at work. But good morning, guys. Glad to have you in with us. And man, I hate cutting conversation short, but we are up against that hour. And you know, kind of try to be respectful of that time and people's days. And everything, and so we're going to try to stay pretty hard on that hour line right there, and give us a little time to get used to this format and when we need to shift certain things and, you know, move certain directions so that we can make it a better hour. But we will be discussing it, I'm sure, off camera and working on it for next week. And you know, so we will be back in next Saturday, of course, at 7 a.m. Central Time. But
Wait a minute. Wait a
uh-huh.
minute. Do you have a brain buster for us today?
I do. I've got all that. I'm going there. That's why I got to start now.
Okay.
Thanks, Terry, for joining us. He went ahead and jumped off. Thank you, Terry, for joining us. We're going to try to have somebody in every Saturday to visit with like that, and you know, and hang with, and those who have the capability to live stream or join us in like that. But anyway, but I am going to get into that. First things first, let's get over to the Redneck Weather Report and let's see what our friend Jack has to say about the weather today. So anyway, here we go. Oh wait, that wasn't what I want to do. I hit the wrong button. Don't do that, Ryan. All right. Share. Okay. All right.
Good morning, Rednecks. It is 73 degrees this morning, July the 5th, 2025. We got a 9-mile-an-hour southern wind. It feels like it's 75 degrees. Dew point 71, chance of showers and storms throughout the day. We're going to get to 85 today. God bless y'all. We'll see you again tomorrow.
All right. Well, thank you, Jack, for that. So yeah, we'll see what's coming in. Coming in on that, because if he's got rain coming, that means we got rain coming. But anyway, so yeah, thank you, Jack, for that. For those who don't know who that is, that's Jack Dyer Family Farm. Go on over there to Dyer Family Farm and check them out, and you can get the
Redneck
get
Weather Report every
us.
morning.
Yeah, I had one job, Scotty. That's right. Yeah. Anyway. Little off the curb today just because we're doing things a little different. But yes, the brain buster. If one teacher can't teach all subjects, why is one child expected to study all subjects?
Hmm.
Just an interesting thought.
Probably
Yeah.
something I thought of whenever I was still in high school.
Well, maybe, you know, but
Like, why do I have to do all that?
exactly, you know. But anyway, all right, Tina, thanks for dropping in. You have a great day as well, and we'll see you later. But anyway, and quote of the day, of course, tied as always back to the subject matter, which is a failure is not always a mistake. It may simply be the best one can do under the circumstances. The real mistake is to stop trying. And it was B.F. Skinner gave us that. And so anyway, I'm not going to go over upcoming events today just because we are up against it as tight as we are, but you know, we'll get more of those out. Keep your eyes peeled for that. Thanks for all the tablers who showed up with us this morning, everybody who jumped in. It was good to have you all. Good to see some faces we don't see from time to time in on a Saturday morning with us. Certainly appreciate you being here. And bro, that's a wrap for today on the Farm to Table Show. We'll finish this out. Thanks for joining us as we strive towards building stronger communities for now and in the future. If you enjoyed today's episode, don't forget to hit the old thumbs up, hit the like button, share it with your friends, subscribe to our channels on Facebook, YouTube, X, and Rumble. It is the best way to stay connected and help grow the conversation about food, farming, and community. Special thanks to our guest Terry with TNT Homesteading. Go over and check him out. And until next time, you keep your roots deep, vision growing. Good food starts with great people just like you. Remember, we are hashtag stronger together, hashtag tablers unite, hashtag keep going over there, hashtag connect and grow, hashtag think outside the big box store, shop local. And for those who've never been with us on the old Farm to Table show, you've only been with us on the morning edition, you're about to get something totally different. I will say, be a blessing to someone, even if it's just a smile. And this is how we used to end every show, and we got to bring it back. Prepare for the unexpected and
keep it local.
Absolutely. Everybody have a great day. Hank's going to take it away.
No humans were harmed in the production of this podcast.